Imagine hearing whispers in the dark, whispers that know your name, even though you're alone. If that sent a chill down your spine, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more terrifying tales like this one. Now, let's begin. It was an ordinary evening when Sarah found herself walking down the old, narrow road that led to her grandmother's house. The sun had dipped below the horizon faster than usual, leaving behind an unsettling twilight. The streetlights flickered above her, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to move with her every step. Sarah had visited her grandmother's house hundreds of times, but tonight felt different. As she neared the house, she noticed something strange. The windows were unusually dark, almost as if the house hadn't been lived in for years. But the front door was wide open, swaying gently with the wind. "Grandma," Sarah called out, her voice echoing in the silence. There was no answer. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind her, almost as if it had a mind of its own. The air was thick with dust, and a cold chill crept over her skin, more chilling than the autumn air outside. The house felt emptier than usual, quieter than usual. It was as if the very walls were holding their breath. Sarah slowly made her way into the living room. It was dim, with only the faint light from the cracked window casting shadows across the furniture. The room looked untouched, yet there was something about it that made her uneasy. Then she heard it, a whisper, soft, faint, almost like a breath. Sarah, she froze. Her name, spoken in a voice that didn't belong to anyone in the room. Her pulse quickened, and she instinctively reached for her phone. But when she glanced at the screen, it was completely dead. Not even the battery indicator showed. "Grandma," she called out again, her voice wavering. Still no response. The house was eerily silent again, but then she heard it, louder this time. "Sarah, come closer." The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was no longer just a whisper, but a steady, insistent call. A voice that felt wrong. It wasn't just a sound, it was a pull, a lure. The kind of voice that made you feel like you had no choice but to follow it, against her better judgment. Sarah followed the voice, moving deeper into the house. Her feet were heavy, as though something was trying to keep her from moving forward, but she couldn't stop. The whispers grew louder with every step. She reached the basement door. The handle turned on its own, creaking open with a slow, deliberate motion. A cold gust of air rushed up from the darkness below, sending a shiver down her spine. The voice beckoned again. "Come down, Sarah. We're waiting for you." Sarah's heart raced, but she couldn't stop herself. She stepped into the basement, the heavy wooden door slamming shut behind her with a force that left her breathless. The basement was darker than the rest of the house, and the air smelled of mold and something else, something rancid. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she saw shapes moving in the corners of the room, shadows that didn't quite belong. The whispers became clear, all around her now. She couldn't understand the words, but they were coming from somewhere close. Suddenly, the floor creaked under her feet. Sarah turned and saw it. Figures, shadows, creeping slowly out from the corners of the basement. They had no faces, just dark silhouettes with hollow eyes, all staring at her. They were moving towards her, slowly but steadily. Sarah screamed and ran, but the shadows followed her, their whispers growing louder, more desperate. Sarah, don't leave us." She reached the stairs, but just as she was about to escape, a hand shot out from the shadows, grabbing her ankle with a grip so cold it felt like death itself. She tried to pull away, but the hand tightened, dragging her back into the darkness. "Please, let me go," she screamed, but the shadows only whispered in response, their voices blending into one. "You're one of us now, Sarah. Forever, just before she was pulled into the abyss. Sarah managed to break free and stumble back toward the stairs. She reached the top, gasping for air, her body shaking with fear. The basement door slammed shut behind her, and the whispers faded into nothing. Breathing heavily, Sarah rushed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. She turned to look back at the house, but it was no longer the familiar home of her grandmother. The windows were dark, the door closed tight, and the shadows were gone. But as Sarah turned to leave, she heard it again, soft and clear, from somewhere in the distance. "Sarah, we're waiting." If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like and subscribe. You never know what might be lurking just around the corner.